Everything is Awesome is part of Courts and Parts, a podcast network featuring pop culture, TV, movie, and geek podcasts. Check out some of our other shows, like TV Ate My Brain, Let's Chat with Revelin Friends, and Podstalgic at courtsandparts.com.
Awesome. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. 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 That was awesome. You guys are awesome.
No.
You're awesome. You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. This week is, we're a week away from the kicking off our month of Philadelphia Podcast Fest celebration shows, where we are going to talk to a lot of Philly podcasters. It kicks off next Wednesday with our live show that we did at Amalgam Comics and Coffee House this past Sunday for the unofficial after party for Wizard World. And we sat down and spoke to Ophidian the Cobra, Chikara pro wrestler, trainer, and host of Bump and Grind, the podcast, which is part of the Philadelphia Podcast Fest this year. So enjoy that next year. I don't know what the exact release schedule is going to be. Probably at least 2 to 3 episodes a week just to kind of celebrate and kick in the 5th annual Philadelphia Podcast Fest. But this week, let's focus on this week, guys. This week, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm in my studio. I'm praying to God, and all you guys know that when I'm in my studio, that really is just code word for shed. And birds have moved into the roof area and have little baby birds that are now, like, I guess the equivalent of teenage birds, and all they do is make annoying crying sounds. It's not cute anymore. So I apologize in advance to both my guest and you, the audience, if that comes through. It's also, we're going through Skype, so it's a little bit different today, guys. This week's guest is someone that, the magic of the internet, Twitter, connected us. And I think it was simply me, it's a great, first of all, it's the founder of a great little organization that's against bullying. Something I don't know. Honestly, Once Upon a Time related is all I really remember is how it got we got connected, because Once Upon a Time fans, y'all crazy, I mean that with the most amount of love that I can, because I guess it's like you can be crazy for your own good reasons that are crazy in your head. But anyway, let's bring our guest on. As per usual, do not verify anything when it comes to last names. So please welcome the founder and ruler of Bullies Keep Out, Dana. I'm just gonna take a guess, and I did this before, and I was way off because this is so bad that I don't even remember what it is. But I'm gonna say Jacobson. Nope.
Not even close. No, Jacoviello.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a J. See, so I had a guest that I just interviewed the other night.
You were close with the J.
Yeah.
Close with the J. It was a good. It was a good shot. Nobody ever gets my name right. I've been called so many different things.
I have a future guest on this show that we recorded the interview the other night. His last name was Star. And I was like, and we actually we lost the original intro. So what you guys are going to end up hearing is me getting his name right. But in the original cut, it was me saying Ryan Matthews, and was not even close, because it was Ryan Starr, graphic designer in Philadelphia. Not what I believe a Philadelphia, or at least a NFL running back is Ryan Matthews. Not a graphic designer out of Philly. But anyway,
that's too funny.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, see, I'm awful. I'm as we were saying before we officially kicked the show off. I don't do any kind of research, and that is way proven by the fact that, like, I can't even take the time to read the last name in your emails, in your Twitter account. But I got Bullies Keep Out correct. I got that part right.
You got that right, and that's the most important. It's I love what I do in my organization. But yeah, no worries. Like I said, people butcher my name all the time, and people who have known me for years, you always used to make jokes about it. Jacoviello, Jacoviello. It's Italian. It's a long name, and even if you do research, people still have a problem getting it right.
Well, and it was
it's absolutely not a big deal.
I knew it started with J, and I knew it was kind of long, and I was like, well, Jacobson makes right, but you know what? That is, I think I like literally combined a that J part of your last name and a previous guest last name into some amalgam name.
I see what you did there.
Yes. So
it happens.
So we connected through Twitter, which I want to say for more than when we officially started to set this interview up, like we started following each other through Bullies Keep Out because we have Once Upon a Time is obviously a mutual connection. I know Amikon is one of the advocates for you guys, and that's one of our mutual people. So I know. So we have a little bit of a history, but yeah, I want to say. Either I want to say who the guy who does and see this. I'm a terrible Once Upon a Time fan because
you're probably thinking about the WAF podcast, the Once Upon a Fan podcast.
Yeah.
There were a couple of us from my personal account that we were just making some comments, regarding fandom behavior in general, and then we were talking about, of course, talking about specific shows because we all like it, and a lot of people know that I work with a lot of them for Bullies Keep Out. It's a great cast. It's a humble cast. They're all great. A lot of them, and they show a lot of support, and they're just amazing. And I know that I think I saw tweets, and then I saw you, and somebody had mentioned, you should do a podcast about fandom behavior because a lot of people feel it needed to be talked about more, especially with the chaos and the insanity that was going on at the time that we were all tweeting at the same time, and I had saw yours, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he gets what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, so for me, like, and I'll be 33 this year, so like the idea of shipping people like is way beyond me. I feel like that's a millennial thing. And like I get fandoms, like I feel like, and I had this conversation almost over a year ago, I think, with Ace Marrero. Like our generation kind of like invented the fandom, like with like Buffy and X-Files and all those shows from like the 90s. Like there wasn't really huge fandoms. Yeah, Charmed. Like there weren't. And maybe because there wasn't a medium to share that fandom, so fandoms were really small, or you felt awkward. Yeah, but
it was probably more like It was Comic-Con than it was online.
Yeah, and I want to say, I guess our interview happened before before like this little thing that happened with the internet and Twitter and I'm sitting here saying it. I'm afraid to say the fandom name because it's literally like the Lord Voldemort. Like that's who they are to me. Like they're my evil arch enemy. Because like it's the Swan Queen fans, which I say that they're my arch enemy, but I mean that with a whole ton of humor, because I don't care at all about anything. Because for me, like, I think the most I've ever shipped in my entire life was on The Flash, him at Barry Allen and Caitlin Snow. I was like, I'd rather that. And for me, it's not like I want Snowberry or whatever they're called. I say I want these two guys to get together because I don't like Iris.
Right.
So and like. So before I get into the Once Upon a Time thing, like fandom stuff in general, like I don't, and talking to you, I know that it sounds like it's just across the board, no matter what show, fandoms are kind of crazy. But like
absolutely, it's across the board.
I've only experienced it with Once Upon a Time. Like I'm pretty tight with a bunch of Flash fans, and none of us are crazy. I haven't run across any crazy Flash fans yet, or Berlantiverse fans. So like I've only come across it in once, and it's like I'm assuming it's the Captain Swan people and the Swan Queen people that are like the two big factions that hate each other. And dear God, you don't want to get on one of their bad sides.
Well, I'm going to be very honest here, and my point of view is that I had no idea what a fandom was. I watched a lot of shows, like the shows that you mentioned back. I mean, I'm going to be 38 years old, so all those shows, I watched Charmed and, you know, a lot of that stuff, and I still really never knew. I never really went to Comic-Cons. I mean, I never went to New York City Comic-Con except for maybe a few years ago, once, my first time in my life, and I was like, wow. You know, and it's very interesting, and I really didn't even know. And then they had all these abbreviations, OTP and the ships, and I'm like, what is all this? And I'm trying to figure it out. And doing what I do, it's important to me because I'm more on the aspect of, look, I support and love all ships. I think, you know, it's very hard to say, oh, this person is against this person and they hate this person, because it's not really particular canon or non-canon or ships, or it's people. It's the people who are doing the bullying or crossing lines or, you know, inappropriate behavior. It's not really, you know, it's not really particular ships, but the thing is that what happened, Once Upon a Time has a beautiful message, a great message, and like I said, the cast is wonderful, and when you see it, it kind of is disheartening because fandoms really should be about support systems, making new friends, connections, you know, and I just recently, during, you know, times of tragedy, you saw them all come together, and if you could do it at that time, it should always be like that. It shouldn't always be pitting against each other, and the show is not about ships. It's not about relationships. It's about stories, telling a story. The writer's not writing it for ships or for fans. You know, you want to make people happy, but let's face it, you can't write television for people specifically what they want, because you're going to lose fans somewhere. You're going to either, oh, okay, well, we're going to keep these ship people, but they're not going to want to watch us anymore because we killed this person off, or we didn't put these two people together. And it really just became too much about that. And I was really disheartened. And I have so many people that come to me because, like I said, we're close with a lot of the cast, and we work with them, and they show so much support. The news that we don't have a working relationship with, they show a lot of support and whatnot. And, you know, what we do at Bullies Keep Out is about protecting, helping even the bullies if they want it. And so you know, we are at a very neutral stance, but we have gotten attacked many times when it comes to characters and storylines. I mean, honestly, I had a charity auction for domestic violence, and because of somebody who donated an item, we literally got like these insane, really mean-hearted, nasty tweets about the person and the character over the show. And I was like, okay, but this is not a fan site, number one, no matter how many people we work with from a particular show, because we work with all people from particular shows, and we work with directors and all types from, you know, the entertainment field. It's not just tied to one show. We just happen to work with a lot of them from months, and we just adore all of them, and it's great. But I was really disheartened and upset when I felt that, like, okay, we're getting attacked because they donated an item, and we announced the item that they were donating, and all these comments were really uncalled for. And I was like, this is charity. This is about bullying, and yet they're bullying. And they're doing it to an organization in public online. And I kind of felt like, wow, I mean, I just couldn't comprehend it over a TV show, because even though television can be powerful and it's got great messages and you can learn from it, it changes people's lives, it even saves people's lives. You know, you never know the power of a character or something. I watched a movie the other day, for instance, The Shack, with Octavia Spencer, and that touched me really completely, and I loved it, and I found it to be amazing. So things touch us, but I don't lose sight of reality or confuse my reality with the characters or the actors for the characters, and then you see them attacking the writers and the producers and the directors, and they're getting very personal, and they're yelling at them, and they're attacking them, and you know, you see it in the media, even people going ballistic over shows going off the air, and all this negativity. And I just read something about a con where there was a murder plot at a con, and I'm just like, okay, but all this over television. It really, I don't think entertainment should be about that.
No, because I mean, you're right. Entertainment's all about kind of just escaping the real world. At the end of the day, there's. I don't think I ever go into watching anything or listening to anything because for me, podcasting is a huge form of entertainment. Because honestly, I mean, I don't listen to music when I'm in the car. So when I'm in the car, I listen to a podcast. So most of my entertainment comes from podcasting because it's just easier to access. During 8-hour work days, I can pop headphones in and I can't watch TV and whatnot. But yeah, all form of entertainment at the end of the day should just be a way to escape reality sometimes for, whatever reasons that you may have. That is that you're just having a shitty day, you're having a shitty month. Whatever reason it is, as you said, it can save lives. It's that's. I would never say that my life was at risk, but I was in a real bad place last year when I lost my uncle to cancer. It was just really I was just really sad about it, and I was able to bond over this podcast called Campaign, which is a Star Wars actual play podcast for D&D, but Star Wars, and just a bunch of Chicago improvers doing comedy, really just set in the Star Wars universe. And that connection I have with Star Wars with my uncle, I was able to laugh for an hour at a time instead of just think about my uncle being dead. So it was I don't want to say it was a lifesaver because that's just me being over dramatic, but it was a nice way to not think about either when my uncle was really sick, just thinking about what he was going through, or when he finally was gone, thinking about him being gone. It should never be, like you said, that's what's crazy about, for me, part of being in the fandom is having fun. So of course, that is and I come from a world of I don't know, radio wars. I grew up in the 90s when there was radio wars, and I like that concept of just poking. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I'm a big fan of
me too.
Poking the bear and just having a heel and having a baby face and stuff like that. So when Ace tweeted out something about Swan Queen, and it ended up being an Instagram picture of Captain Swan doing something, I retweeted it, and I think I retweeted it with the hashtag. Maybe not, I don't know, but I know Ace used the hashtag, and then that's when I found out how much the fandom can really I never had a negative experience with any fandom until that moment, and I was literally had no idea what to do, and people that were Captain Swan started. That's where I think 90% of my flooded Twitter feed now, which is all about Once Upon a Time, is comes from, I would say 50% of it, maybe 60% of it is what I call the only Once Upon a Time fandom I care about now, the whiners from the fans of Once Upon a Wine, the podcast. That I produced that podcast, so I mean I'm biased, of course, but
oh, do you?
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I used that podcast. Actually, used to be called "Oh It," the unofficial Once Upon a Time podcast that me and a buddy hosted, and my buddy started losing interest in Once, and we just didn't have time to do it anymore. So we had connected with the rock opera people, with Aaron and Ace, over just them doing the rock opera and the web series and stuff, and became friends with them about a year before we said, hey, take the podcast over. So I've been producing it since, but so of course I'm a little biased towards the fan base there, but they get it. There's that fan base is Swan Queen, that fan base is Captain Swan. We crack jokes with one another, and they 100% get that what Ace and I are doing is just us being just goofy a-holes, really, which I guess in this conversation about bullying could be a form of bullying, but I don't look at it that way because it's, I don't know, again, for me it's just good old-fashioned fun. But
yeah, I mean, there's a difference, I mean, there's a difference between playing around with people. Like I said, I mean, I personally have friends from all over. I've met some amazing people, and there's Outlaw Queen, there's wrong. Like I said, I support all ships. I think they're all beautiful. And, of course, I just don't want to see anybody get bullied. But, there are people who are get along fabulously, and they're from totally opposite ends of the spectrum in the fandom, but they also play, they joke, they have very respectful conversations. They're opinionated, they're very passionate. I will give the fandom that. They're very passionate. But you can be passionate, and you can be opinionated, and you can even be critical, but like constructive criticism. Like if I was to write a piece, because I'm a writer, and if I was to write a piece and somebody was like, well, I think you should fix this and that, I'm not going to like freak out and get all upset and start screaming and yelling at them and telling them, you know, to go jump in a lake and I hate them and I can't stand them because they're giving me constructive criticism. But there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And, you know, I know, you know, I mean, like I said, we work with her, we work with Mallory, you know, the ones all involved, you know, with the cosplay and the rock opera. And, you know, we love Amy, and she's amazing with Bullies Keep Out, and we are going to be doing more work with her. But, you know, it's just about really keeping the peace, and that's all that we're all for. And even, like you say, when you and Ace are joking, you're playing around. You're not being serious. You're not saying anything horrendous. You're not, you know, you're not being jerks. You're not really – I've seen your stuff. I don't really see anything bullying-wise, you know. But the problem is that people get so offended because they're calling out ships. And that's where the problem lies. It's like, oh, it's this people, it's that people, it's this ship, it's that ship, it's this ship. And then you have that ship saying, well, we get bullied and we get threatened and we get attacked. And then you have everybody just jumping in, and it's like, okay, but again, this is not what defines you. It's for the show, and it's fun, and you have fanfic, and you have so many ways to appreciate this, whether it's real or not on the show, or whether it's written or not. And just appreciate it and enjoy it. Nothing's going to go away. Nobody's taking anything away from you. But the way people, it happened recently on our timeline, something, you can't control what you get tagged in. You get tagged in stuff, it doesn't mean it's an endorsement or our views. And you saw that, and it kind of went a little bit crazy, and there was a turmoil, and I was like, okay, I had to make like 50 announcements. And, you know, it was harmless. It was nothing intentional. But the way it was worded, some people took a little bit of offense to it. And I said, okay, but, you know, this is not, we have so many real world problems. And it was even tweeted by somebody else from the other podcast for once upon a time. It's like the real world problem, we really shouldn't be bickering and arguing and going after each other's throats over this type of stuff.
Yeah, like my argument, since I stopped using hashtags when it came to Once Upon a Time, unless it was because it literally was just afraid. I was like, I don't want to deal with it. Afraid's
just use the hashtag Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, but like it's like I don't want to. Like I came up with this crazy hashtag that's not a real hashtag because I think it had numbers in it or something. But like I whenever I wanted to refer to the fandom because there was literally I got screenshots from a lot of mutual friends that were Swan Queen or whatever. They were just Once Upon a Time fans, and they're like, "Yo, they hate you right now." Like I was like talk of the town in a negative way throughout that fandom. Yeah, I was like, I don't. Like, all I did was retweet Ace. That's all I did. I mean, and of course, like I stepped up when like someone called me out on something. I was like, well, come on, like this is a show about magic. Let's not like get crazy here. And like, I can see how that someone can take offense to that because the show does mean something to some people. But at the end of the day, it's literally a show about magic. Sometimes not done very well at all. So like, there's no reason, in my opinion, that a person. I won't say fandom, that an individual person should get so bent out of shape about something that's said in fun at the end of the day. Like there's, like you said, there's definitely a clear-cut difference between like loving fun and pure hate when you say something in a comment. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't know. It made me, and to this day, I think I've used it once recently because because it's the end of season 6 and I wanted to get in on like I think Zach, who is part of Once Upon a Fan or whatever, he went on like a long tangent about like
that's where I saw you because I saw the tweets from him and I actually agreed with a lot of what he said, and I was commenting, and then I saw you, and then I was talking to you, and I was like, you know, maybe we should do more, have conversations about this, because we actually did a PSA. I mean, he wasn't available, but I did it with Mallory. I'm sure you know who Mallory is. She's like a really good friend. Yeah, so we did one because we felt something needed to be said, because he said this is out of control, like about season 7 and who was leaving and this and blah 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 and and it was like all over, and I just like all over my timeline, all such negativity, and I said, guys, and you know, they like, well, some people, we can have criticisms and we don't have to be happy, and it's like, absolutely, you could do all those things, but do them with respect and kindness, and do them appropriately. And like I said, there's the right way to do things and a wrong way, and it doesn't have to be like a giant thread of just negativity. And I think that's what you were referring to when Zach was tweeting. He was basically just saying his honest feelings about it and the truth, that everything became about hashtags, and it was all this, you know, I think he used almost every single one, Outlaw Queen, Swan Queen, and then there was, I don't know, there's so many. There's but when there was the Evil Queen and Rumple, there was that one, which I kind of dug that one. And then there's, I know, all of a sudden my mind is going blank on the other popular, Captain Swan. You know, so there's, there's so many of them.
Well, and the one that I like after that whole debacle, I was like, you know what? From now on, I'm just shipping Captain Charming, because I just want Hook and Charming, and not even like in a relationship way. I just want Hook. I want Hook and Charming to do a Lethal Weapon. A bromance. I want a Lethal Weapon spinoff starring Captain Hook and Prince Charming, because honestly, like that's like that, at the time, like that's just the best part of the show right now is whenever they're together. It's. Once upon a time, like, I get why people are so upset about season 6, because despite me hating season 5, I have a real issue with the show. Like, one of the main reasons I watch it now is only because I produce a podcast about it. Like, it is not, in my opinion, a great show anymore. Season 6 was like a return to some sort of form that I actually really enjoyed, but like, it's time to put a bow on it. Like, and I'm not saying that because
I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed it, and especially how they ended it and whatnot. It was done a nice way.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's time to put a bow on it and kill the show at season 6 because like I didn't get my way or I got my way as far as ships are concerned. I'm saying it because narratively, like, what else are you gonna do? To me, they're recycling season 1. I guess it's kind of cute in a way, but like, I don't know. I said at season 5 I was ready for the show to be over, and we got a season 6, and I'm glad we did, because it proved me wrong in being a better show than it was the season before. But I just don't think that like I don't know. I don't think it could be a good show anymore. I think it's run its course. And like, I think the reason to be upset that it's coming back for a 7th season shouldn't be because people are leaving that you really, really like. It should be because it's just probably not going to be good anymore. Like, I look at it as just creatively, I just don't think it's going to be worth time anymore versus, getting upset and then bullying people about, well, my person left, my ship lost, or whatever.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, look, everybody has their own opinions on the show. Some people love the show and they're ride or die. For me, I'm ride or die once upon a time. I'm going to watch it till it's over. I'm not saying I agree with every single decision they made or every single storyline or every single thing, and I was totally thrilled in doing a dance. I was like, oh, man, they killed Robin Hood. I love Robin Hood. And, Sean McGuire's an advocate of Bullies Keep Out, and we adore Sean, and he's great. But, but I'm not, and I make little jokes about it. I don't, and on my personal timeline, but that's it. I don't get upset to the point where I'm letting it destroy my day or my life. Or, look, you're gonna have people that are not gonna watch it or decide that they don't like the way it's going, and that's absolutely fine. But when you see, like, I was just seeing stuff where they're just attacking, like, the actors, and they're attacking the producers and the writers and everybody. I'm not watching it anymore. Oh, I'm done with it. Okay, fine. But you know what? So you're done with it. So watch it or don't watch it. But if you're going to watch it, be supportive, because the things that I see are so contradictory, and then they're really, really mean. It's like, well, I hope this show fails, but I'm going to watch it for this fails, because if you're a fan of that person and you're watching it because of them, why would you want their show to fail? That's their job.
Yeah.
It's kind of like contradicting yourself in 142 characters. You don't need to see 100 times why you're not watching it or that you're not going to watch it, and then just completely negatively destroy everything about the show. Because you know what, there were people that were happy with it for 6 seasons, with some things they didn't like and some things they did, like you mentioned. But my point is that, okay, enjoy the memories that you have, appreciate it for what it was when you were watching it, if you're deciding that you don't want to, and don't take all that away and stomp all over it, because there was awesome stuff, and you got a fandom out of it. You made new friends, you have connections, you go to cons, you get to meet them. They get cast, and they are amazing with their fans, and they always are talking about bullying and the negativity and the fandom and the ship wars, and that they don't want to see it and they don't want to tolerate it. And I'm glad that they always talk about that, because it needs to be talked about and said, and it's, like I said, it's across all fandoms. I had, from another show, I'm not going to say the person or the show, but it was a fandom from another show, and, because like I said, we work with people from different shows. We've never really had so much negativity, sometimes for, like you were saying, from one particular fandom, but then again, I was never really introduced to fandoms until Once Upon a Time. But they were attacking the person's character so much and playing this person, and we've seen it even happen with other people and other tons of actors and actresses from a variety of different shows. I just saw one about The Walking Dead. They literally go off social media because of death threats and the attacking and the bullying, hateful things, and then they're attacking their families, going into their private lives, and that's where I say kind of draw the line, because when you start stepping over those, like getting sneaky and trying to get attention, or where a friend of mine said that I love the word she used in an interview I did with her, emotional blackmail to get them to care about you, and you're doing all these things that are really not appropriate, and you're bossing them around, asking them personal questions, and just all these things that are really not what you should be doing. And that's what also bothers me too when I see all that, because it just gets to be too much, and you have to let people breathe, and you have to be respectful, and you have to be kind, and they get hurt too, and I don't think people realize that you're hurting those people. Just because they're on television doesn't mean they're not human beings.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's where people lose their humanity, because it's like you're losing all humanity. You think because they're on television that they're immune to bullying and you being mean. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, the Walking Dead one, the dude that plays Eugene, when I read that, first, but a lot of clickbait out there, because the headlines were made it sound like he was being an a-hole. But then, reading the article and seeing what actually happened, it was it's nuts to me that people just blend that reality. And I mean, I guess there's two kinds of hardcore fans. There's the hardcore fans that are just normal people who understand that, hey, Eugene is played by a person's name I don't know, but I know it's not Eugene. I know he's not a real person.
Right.
Versus the hardcore fan that is, Josh. I think his name is Josh. But whatever his name is, Eugene, I'm sorry I don't know your name in real life, but you're a phenomenal actor, and I love the character you play. But then there's the other fan, the hardcore fan that maybe they do know the difference, but they just take it way too hard. And there's nothing wrong with that passion that a fan or a fandom has.
No.
That passion is what helps maybe drive that show to be successful at times. But it's when you, like you said, cross that line and threaten the dude and his family because the fake character in this magical world about zombies, he turned on Rick. I get it. Rick's my boy. I'm not happy that he turned on. I hate Eugene right now, but I love that. At the same time, I love that they take this such an interesting take on the character that I wasn't expecting at all as a fan of the comic book. It's for me, and I guess because I don't want to say I'm a writer, because that's a term that I throw that around way too loosely. I like to write. It's more of a hobby than an actual thing. But like as a creative person, I'll say, because that's something I can say. Like I love that like The Walking Dead, I think, takes some risks, and they go off the beaten path that what people are expecting, and I love that about the show. And I think that's what's keeping the show for me. Like I'm ride or die with that show because I don't think it can do no wrong. It's so far it's been pretty great. But to like just I don't know, it's still, and maybe it's because I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but maybe it's because I'm normal and I understand that the dude's just doing a job. Like I don't think I've ever loved something so much that I had hatred for a person like doing something with that role or that show or something.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Passion is good. Being passionate about anything is good. And there's nothing wrong with being passionate about shows or even movies or television in general. I mean, that's what makes these actors do what they do, because they have a passion for acting and entertaining and wanting to do something, inspiring on television or in movies or to reach people on a personal level. And it's about that. And I mean, I love the entertainment field, and I've always been passionate about it myself. But I've never been passionate to the point, like you said, where I'm going to bash people or go after people or call out certain groups of people or, okay, we want to call ships, or because then when that starts happening, that's when the problems start kicking in. I mean, there's other problems. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of toxicity in these fandoms, but there's also lots of beauty in them. But when you start calling out, and then that's when it starts to get, where the lines start to get blurred. And I think that's the problem in fandoms, is the lines get too blurry to where people are not even sure which side of the line that they're on anymore. And then it starts becoming an issue of, it can be an issue from anything from, a cause, like say, they're talking about, rape culture or domestic violence. And you start getting like into all these serious things. And I'm like, okay, but wait a minute. I think I'm watching the same show and I'm not seeing the same thing. And, sometimes you're not sure where these things are getting pulled from, but you can just respect what everybody has to say. But sometimes people don't. And then that's where it becomes, and then not only that, it's going so far beyond, because when you're constantly tagging people that are really not in the conversation, and it's like just a giant thread of tags, and you really start going after people and the people that they know and their friends. I've seen people go after their so-called fans of people, but yet they're going after their personal friends or family. They're getting blocked by them, and they're saying these horrible things. And then I think also there's been issues with the LGBTQ community because of it. And it's like you have to be able to differentiate between, a serious cause and a television show. And you can't really make television shows too political, because then we're not even enjoying it anymore. At that point, it's just making something that we're analyzing when we watch it, and you can't enjoy something that you're just sitting there like constantly trying to analyze. You're like, you might as well take notes. Let me do a report on it. Let me, it gets, like I said, the lines get so blurred, and then everybody starts, jumping in, and you got people jumping in that don't even know each other, and they're just going at it and back and forth. And trust me, I know, because I'm involved in it, because with all fandoms, because I have people come to me constantly, and all types of bullying. Trust me, fandom bullying is just a piece of it. I mean, there's all types of online bullying, offline bullying, adults, youth, kids, teenagers, everything. And we advocate for so much, because even though something might have a different name, like domestic violence, which we advocate for, it's a form of bullying. Yeah. It's a high level form of bullying, but it's still, there's just other names for it. Yeah. But, we are obviously, I'm a neutral person, and Bullies Keep Out are neutral, because there is no, we're taking this person's side and that person's side, because then you're going really against everything that you're supposed to be standing for. So that's why, like, we've had people that want us to call certain people out or call a certain ship out, and so we don't do that, and we can't do that. I was like, and I don't want to do that, and that's not our views. We're open to everybody here. Everybody's accepted here. Everybody. There's no exclusions. Even bullies who need help and want to come to us for help, we're here for them too. There's no exclusions. There's no fault. It's all love here. So when you come to me and you're asking us to do that type of stuff, and then they get upset somewhere, and it's like, okay, but this is, again, that's why we're trying to differentiate between blurred lines of being a fan site, or because we have a large following of certain fandoms, and we love them and we support them all, but at the same time, we've had to use that block button before when things have gone out of control, and we recommend that to other people as well. Don't engage in the negativity when there's a time. When you see that you can't mediate a situation and you can't control it, and it's out of control, like, that's, you have to either stand up for yourself in a respectful way to where you don't go down to the level of a bully, or you have to walk away and block and ignore it, because you're not going to get anywhere. And that's how some of these fandoms, like, it's almost just like pointless, because you're not going to get anywhere. Some people are going to stand strong with their views, and they don't care what you have to say. And they're just going to keep going at it. The bullies are just going to keep going after you. Then they're going to bring their friends, and they're going to cyber attack you, and then they're going to go after all your friends, and it turns into a big mosh pit of cyberbullying. And that's what I have a problem with, of the aspect of it. And that's why I feel speaking out on it so much, because I think people have such wrong notions of it. And it's, like I said, when people are goofing around and playing, there's no harm in it, because there's a difference between jokes and, respectful jokes, not hateful jokes, and really, blaming a certain group of people. And that's why I think also is the issue too, is people have to stop blaming. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, because like I said, I'm not hugely familiar with, fandom lingo, but I know there's non-canon and canon, and, there's, OTPs.
Yeah. I don't, trust me, the only thing I know are the hashtags, and that's, I know the hashtags because I was in the middle of a war, so, but no, and to your point of, like, taking sides and not taking sides more directly, but because I've seen, I had like a bunch of DMs with a Captain Swan person, and because during that whole time of me being the most hated man in Swan Queen history for a week or two, and he was sending me screenshots and whatnot, like just all the negativity. But like that the Swan Queen people, and it was like a select few people that were doing it, but I was like, and I didn't say anything to the dude, because like, whatever, like, thanks for like letting me know they're still talking trash on me, I guess. I don't really care anymore. Like, I'm over and done with it. But like, I could go through and search every conversation that certain Captain Swan people have, and they're just as negative. Like, I see the battles, and I see, like, I'll read Swan King.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
Swan Queen will say, well, Captain Swan people are just a-holes, and they don't get it. They don't respect us. And I'll hear the same exact things from Swan Queen people. It's like, guys, like, you're literally saying the same things about each other. Like, and like kind of going back full circle to the part of the beginning of this conversation, I guess, is like, the at the end of the day, you guys like started out as oncers. Like, that's what it started out as. The show wasn't about like, maybe it was about Snow White and Prince Charming. Maybe that's the relationship it was about, because that's like the most iconic relationship on the show.
Right.
But other than that, like, you didn't watch that show to see Prince Charming and Snow White get together. You didn't watch that show to see Emma Swan and Captain Hook, or Emma Swan and Neil, or Emma Swan and Regina get together. Like, you watched that show because it was, hey, fairy tales of the modern day. That sounds like an awesome idea.
And it's an awesome show, and I love it, and it's great, and I love the actors and characters. Like you said, I love what you just said right there was key. Oncers.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be. Oncers. Not, I'm this ship, or you're that ship, I'm this ship. Because like you said, it's not, and it's, everybody's saying the same thing. So that's why I always tell people, stop, just be loving, kind, respectful. Everybody just loves each other because, like, just we're all here for the same reason, and it's not a group of people. It's not a certain ship. It's certain people within maybe certain characteristics of ships or whatever. They might happen to ship a certain thing, and they happen to be a bully. It does not mean it's the whole entire ship, and that's where the people get upset, and that's where the fights break out, and the bullying, and the hatred, and the meanness, because it's people don't like to be called out, and they're always saying it's us. And they're always saying it's this ship, and it's that ship, and it's this ship. And it's like, okay, but enough with the ships. Maybe if everybody stops labeling everybody, stop labeling. That's the problem. They're labeling everything. Just say, once upon a time, when you first started watching the show, you watched it because you liked it, and you liked the actors, and you liked the performances, and you liked the stories. It wasn't because, like you said, you wanted to see Emma with, the 5 people that she's in ships with. I mean, she's got so many ships. Regina's got lots of ships. I mean, I know that's not why I started watching it. And yes, I have like I said, I love all the ships, but I have the people that I liked together, or I wanted to see together, or I thought it was a great chemistry on screen, and I liked it, and I liked the people, and I just loved the story, and I liked where it was going. But I didn't, my life wasn't destroyed when it didn't happen or something went wrong or whatever. It's kind of like, oh, man. It's like when you're watching a movie, you're kind of just disappointed. You might talk about it. You might have a criticism on it, or, I don't like the way they wrote that, or what's this storyline, or didn't we see, and that's totally fine because they really want to hear from the fans, and they say that they do. But you want to hear from the fans in a very kind and respectful and normal way, not like a minion that turns purple. I mean, you go from all like nice and then you're like, and that's where I kind of, and that's what really bothers me and upsets me, and it really does, because I really think it's just such a loving thing to be part of a fandom, and to see the way they can come together, and to see the way everybody interacts, and to see the love for the show, and the love for the characters, and the love for the actors that play these parts, that bring these characters to you every week and work gazillion hours and are away from their families, and then they're coming out to see the fans at cons and appearances and events, and they're so approachable and they're so lovely. And so you really don't want to take that. You don't want to ruin the thing. And it's just, I feel that sometimes it takes away some of the joy from all those experiences when all of that is happening, because then it just turns into a big blob of craziness, and it's like, wow, just everybody just calm down, and you're always going to have that in fandoms. I don't see it ever going away completely. I hope it does one day. I pray that it does. But if it doesn't, you're always going to have some level of toxicity, and the bullies are going to be there, and the hateful people or the mean people, and speak your mind, shout out from the rafters. That's absolutely not a problem. But like I said, and I can't say it enough, do it with kindness and respect and love. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to curse. You don't have to flood people's timelines with so much negativity to where it's like people don't even want to be on social media, and they don't even want to watch the show. I truly believe sometimes people don't want to watch it for that specific reason, because they just don't even want to be part of it anymore. And then the show loses part of its essence and part of like everything that it was originally made for. Where, like I said, we were all saying on Twitter that day, between you and me and Zach, and we were all kind of tweeting the same thing. Like, enough. Enough is enough. Just watch the show and enjoy it, and stop going after people and making the show about hashtags and ship wars, because it's not about ship wars, and it shouldn't be. And even at cons, you hear the same questions over and over, and you gotta think that they don't know what to say anymore. Some of the answers are actually starting to get funny when I watch them. If I'm not actually at the con, and I'm because I go to them, but not obviously all of them, but when I hear the panels or I see them and I see some of the answers, I'm like, that was a great answer. Because you don't know what to sometimes say anymore, because you get the same thing every with your favorite ship. With Jimmy was together. Well, what do you think of this, Jim? What do you think of it? And it's like, but you know how they feel. They've said it so many times, but they just, I feel like they put them on these pedestals to be perfect. And they said it, I've heard the actors say it a million times. No matter what I say, someone's going to get upset or mad. And it's true. But you can't make everybody happy. If it almost works, it's impossible. And no matter what you do or say, somebody is going to get upset or not be happy. So it's like, what do you do? Like, here's my answer, or let's skip that question, because it doesn't matter. And it's like, you can't put them on pedestals. They're human beings. They have life struggles. They have bad days. They have personal life problems. They go through all the same things we do, and they expect them to be perfect. And when they don't live up to their standards, that's another reason why the bullying starts. And then they start bullying with each other, and then they start including the cast and writers and all that other stuff. And let them be human beings too. And that's why I feel like lines start getting crossed, and then they're like really up in their privacy and their personal business, and they're really going over some lines that I see. I'm like, wow. I've never loved this show that much, or, I mean, I've loved Dolly Parton since I was 8. I don't, try to, go that far up in her personal business or ask her really personal, extremely personal things, or cross any, really intense lines, or just do things that I'm just like, I've seen that are done, and I'm like, or I heard through the grapevine, and I'm like, wow. And it makes you, like, oh,
Well, that's what, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. Like, that's the guy I kind of, model myself after. Like, I say I'm basically the slightly thinner, less funny version of Kevin Smith. Because,
you do remind me of him a little bit.
I mean, I podcast a lot. Like, I've done multiple shows. I talk like him a lot. Like, he's a huge inspiration to me. Like, I found out when I was 25, 26 years old that, I was like, I think I want to make a movie. So, and that was all because of him. Like, it's all because of Clerks and Red State and even Tusk to a lesser degree. Like, he's just out there doing, he's doing him. And it's, so he's the guy that, I'm all, I would, if I sat down with him, it wouldn't be let me get about his personal space. I just want to talk to him about his craft and about of course I know a lot about Kevin Smith personally because he shares. So I do know way more than
right there. That's the point of what you're saying. Share. He shares. When they share something, it's different. When they don't share it and it's getting shared, and people are digging and hacking and God knows what else.
I don't why there's so much more to life out there than to waste your time doing that. One of the things that I think you can adapt to any situation that Kevin Smith uses a lot is instead of when he has people coming out and attacking him about his movies, which especially with his most recent movies happens a lot because it's not the Kevin Smith of yesteryear, and it's
right.
And which is fine. I love that he's evolving. Is Yoga Hosers a good movie? Probably not. Could I find some enjoyment in it? Absolutely. I went into that movie knowing what I was going to watch, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Is Tusk a good movie? I honestly don't know. It's an interesting movie. I can talk about it all day because it's so fucked up. But it's not everyone's bag, and that's fine. And when people attack him, he flips it on them and says, "All right, well, instead of attacking me about my art, go out there and create." That's and that. I think we kind of touched on that before. I think you mentioned people that are upset that their ship didn't make it. Go out there and create, whether it's fan fiction, like you mentioned earlier. Go out there and create your own fan fiction so you get your satisfying ending or whatever. Go do that, or you know what, Once Upon a Time is not exclusive to obviously Once Upon a Time and its characters are exclusive to ABC, but that concept isn't necessarily exclusive. Go out there and find something and put your own spin to it and create it and make it a web series. Hell,
yeah, and so many of them do that, and those are the ones that those are the people that are not taking it to a personal level to where they're doing the bullying and they're engaging in the hateful behavior, and that's what And there's and like I said, for the most part, it's wonderful. But then, like I said, you do have that toxicity part, and I just feel. But what I feel like when you start seeing personal pictures that people don't share, and I think fandoms can be also out of control in that way as well. Like I said, when you're trying to get too much into their personal life and you're trying to make them too much what you want, and then you get mad at them for not living up to your standards. Like you said, like if I had somebody in front of me that I admired, I would talk to them about lots of things. Hello?
Hey, I'm not sure what happened, but
yeah, I think the phone just went dead.
I think that Google Hangouts maybe doesn't like it going past an hour because it literally cut off like an hour and 1 minute.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I just heard boop, 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 and I'm like, my phone's not dead. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, no, I was like, all right, well, go ahead. This is a good edit point, so you can go, and I'll figure it out later.
I mean, but basically all I was saying was is that, I think people just have to realize that there's a certain line that you have to stay on one side of and not walk over it, and I see that happening way too much. I literally have had people, like, you can separate what's serious and what's not, and you have to kind of use, what I do is not easy, and people think it is. Like, when you mentor and coach activism, I'm like, it's not here easy. I'm listening to problems all day. I said, and I love it because I want to help, but it's not also, it's taxing. And I have negative and bad days too. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I make mistakes, and I also have my personal opinions. And I have to differentiate between, is this something that I have to say something about because it warrants the seriousness of it, or I should give a heads up just to let somebody know what's going on. I mean, there's situations that happen like that. And, it could be kind of scary because you don't know people or what, is going to happen. Like I said, with the con thing that I just heard, I mean, you don't know what people could be capable of. You don't know, sometimes the obsessiveness which shows in characters. And I heard another story of a woman with, I think it was Last Man Standing. And I don't remember what she did. And I was just reading about it, and I'm like, wow. Like,
there should be nothing happening with that show. Like, that's Tim Taylor. Leave him alone. Leave his goodness alone.
Right? Like, I was completely surprised. She was mad that it went off. That's what it was. Oh, well, and she was so mad that it went off. I don't remember what thing that I read that was, like, crazy. And I was like, what did she do? Like, I just really couldn't differentiate between, like, okay, but come on, it's a show. Yes, we love shows we don't like when they go off. You know how many shows I like that went off the air, and I was like, really? Yeah. This stinks. Like, I really wanted to see what happened, and now I want to see what happened, and I kind of just have to create it in my mind because I don't know what the heck happened. And I really wanted them to, like, do something almost like Firefly. You remember Firefly?
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to know what was going to happen with Inara.
Yeah.
and now, like, I wanted to know what was going to happen between those two. And the way that they ended it, I was like, come on. And even though they made the movie, they still kind of left that up in the air.
Yeah. Well, and that's like,
and I love Firefly.
Oh yeah, I mean that was something I was introduced to literally like because of Netflix. It was on. I was like, oh, let me watch this show, and like I fell in love with it right away because it's essentially Star Wars. It's essentially Han Solo.
Right.
So, like,
with a twist.
This is great. Yeah, like, and but like there's plenty of shows. Like I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan as well. Like he was for a while the king of one season wonders, like Jack of all trades, which I was a huge fan of, and the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Great show that only got one season. So like all that stuff goes off, and then you get into the world of like, well, they're rebooting something, and then that's another fandom that gets crazy. Again, not fandom. I am an ignorant person, and I'm going to use that term a lot. Just know that I mean the people that are idiots. Let's just say the people that don't understand. And I'm being a bully. I realize that. I'm not. It's a joke. Let me.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a talk, you and I.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, but honestly, like that's what I want to say to people. And that's why I couldn't be like a really good. Like I can't be like a mediator because like I would literally look at somebody and be like, just stop being an idiot. Like, just like stop being an idiot. It's a make believe show about magic. Like let's not like go overboard here, guys. Or it's a make believe show about anything. Like it's all fake, guys. Let's just take a step, not be idiots, and take a step back. But then I'm the bad guy because I'm saying you're an idiot.
Well, yeah, you know what? It's just words people use. I mean, and that's what it is. And that's sometimes, believe it or not, people won't take offense to it, and then you have other people that will take extreme offense to it. And of course, nobody wants name calling, but if it's like a friendship, mutual thing, and people are goofing around, that's completely different. You just, the one thing is like you don't want to go around like. If you're having a conversation about a show on Twitter and you're talking, you don't want to be calling each other idiots. Well, you're an idiot. Well, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Well, that's when it starts becoming, because name calling is a form of bullying, and that's when it becomes, when it's not playful. Like, we all play with each other and goof around, and when you know someone, or even if you don't know them that well, you can still play with them.
Yeah.
And it's totally cool and it's fine because you're not being serious.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets to the point where I've seen it and I've seen even worse words used, I mean, you have people telling people to kill themselves. I've had somebody tell me that. I've had people tell me to drink bleach, to get cancer, to drink bleach. They were going to blow up Bullies Keep Out. I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't even, like, what did we say that this even warrants this? I don't even remember what it could possibly have been about because we don't ever really have any problems because, like I said, all organizations are very neutral. You can't take sides when you don't know what's going on. That would be wrong. We mediate situations. Now, if I go on a timeline, I could clearly see someone threatening or harassing or saying horrible things, and it's very evident. I report. We do privacy, and we go into that because we work in cyberbullying services, and we'll tell people, steps they can take. I mean, when it's very clear cut, okay, fine. Anybody can tell. But when it's not clear cut and you have two people battling it out, or it's just a personal vendetta and a fight between friends, that's not really bullying. That's an argument.
Yeah.
That's a disagreement. And people really need to understand what the meaning of bullying is because there's such a notion of right now everything to everybody is bullying. And I'm like, no. There's bullying behavior. That doesn't make the person a bully. They might have engaged in some negative behavior. Everybody falls into it at some point in their life. We all have. We all can admit to that, and we've all been on the receiving end of it, whatever form it was in. Mm-hmm. But when you have an argument between friends and disagreements or whatever, that is not bullying. Bullying is completely different, and it's so serious now. I don't even know how anybody could confuse it because it's very evident in what is bullying and what does not constitute bullying.
Yeah. And,
I have people come to me, it's like, I'm getting bullied. And, well, do you know that person? Yes. And then I'm trying to explain, and I'm talking to them, and then they grant at the end, and then there's some that are just then they start getting nasty with us, and we're trying to help. And it's like, okay, but if you don't want to help, I respect that. But I can't, because they want you to go after them, go after that person, report them, telling them, do it. And it's like, okay, but you can't do all that because then I'm going against our views of being neutral in a situation because it's very hard to tell who's the bully and who's not online, especially when both timelines are filled with back and forth. And it looks like both of them might possibly be the bully or engaging in that type of behavior. So we get put in positions where people want us to take sides, and we have to explain to them that that's not how it works. It's not about, I'm going to be on your side, and then I'm going to be on your side. And that also happens a lot in fandom. And that's where it's like, okay, but that's why I think that so many times when you hear panels or you hear actors talk about it across any fandom, it's just really, honestly, have respect, show kindness, show love, be friends, don't be friends. You don't have to be friends with everybody. Just have a decent discussion, share your opinions, be passionate, but just do it in a good way. The world is filled with so much ugliness already. We don't need to add to it, and there's so many serious real world problems. I don't think we need to be making fandom fandom stuff one of them, because it's really not the end of the world. It's a TV show.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah, it's
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's that, again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like in the beginning, near the beginning of our conversation. Like, entertainment is supposed to be what it makes you escape the real world bullshit. It makes you escape, whatever is going. If you're not happy what's going on politically, like, you can escape that and watch a show, or listen to something. Or if you're not happy with something that's happening in your personal life, or if you're not happy with something that's happening, whatever, at work, like, you can like, entertainment is supposed to be your escape so that you can enjoy life for a half hour, an hour at a time.
Right, in that moment in time, exactly. And I'm not saying by any means not have the show mean something to you. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm just saying don't take it to extremes.
Yes. No, and I agree, because now, again, for me, it's hard to, unless I get my Lethal Weapon spinoff starring Prince Charming and Captain Hook. Like, I don't think I don't really. They lost me like in season 5, or I don't know. They lost me at some point. So like, that show no longer has me. Like, I'm probably ride or die with that show, like you, except like more not because I want to be at all. No, like, I will say that I will watch season 7 because I am intrigued of the flash forward, but like, still, like, it's I don't know. Again, I end up watching it because. And again, I was
because you're a fan.
Yeah,
because you're a fan.
And I might be not a great fan right now because it's like I'm on the downward swing. But it's whatever. Like, I still watch it because for an hour at a time, I can go to Storybrooke and see a world of magic that you can't see.
Right.
In my backyard, or I can't see when my car breaks down, or I can't see when, when someone I know and love is dying.
The horrible news. Yeah, exactly. It's an escape. Yeah, it's a beautiful escape, and I do the same thing. And I also have gotten much inspiration from shows and portrayals and the actors and them as human beings outside of their character. Mm-hmm. And, even from the characters, like, Once Upon a Time has really beautiful messages in the characters like Regina, and how she came from, something completely, I guess, evil and broken, and she found, like, if season 6 ended and that was the end of it, she might have lost like a lot, like her, the true loves that they had given her in the shows, supposedly, but she also gained everything that she was looking for in life, which is to be accepted, to be loved, feel at home in the world, and that's a real life thing that everybody wants.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful thing with that character, and the writers were great, and of course, she's great in how she portrays. Lana's amazing in how she portrays the character. They're all, like I said, it's a great cast, and they all were wonderful. But I have to say, when I started watching that show, it was because of the character of Regina.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started to watch it, and then I watched, like, I think one episode, and then I just stopped watching, and my friend was on Skype, and she's like, watch Once Upon a Time with me. I'm like, oh, okay. And, I mean, I love Disney, and I love all that stuff, and I watched it, and I saw the portrayal of that character, and I was just like, because, they were just so good at it, all of them, and, like, I particularly loved that character, and to watch her evolve, and so, like, my point that I'm trying to get across is that I pulled great things from that show, and from the characters and the messages, and they do have wonderful messages, and it's great. Well, but I also don't take it to the extremes of just not distinguishing between my life and reality and the television world, because even though I can pull all these amazing things from it and get amazing things from it and feel strongly about the show and the characters and the actors, I still you still have to differentiate.
Mm-hmm. And like, I was kind of in the same boat. I had a friend who, like, said, hey, you should be watching this show Once Upon a Time. It's really good. And so, like, I ended up watching it, just I guess on demand or whatever. And it was, for me, it was Robert Carlyle, Rumple. Like, to me,
Oh yeah.
Once Upon a Time isn't about Emma Swan. It was about Rumple finding his son, and that's when the show was good. The show was good when Rumple's quest was to find Balefire. But when Balefire died, like that's for me when the show kind of went south because Rumple no longer served a purpose. And ironically, when he had a son to save again, the show got good again.
Well, I'm kind of biased towards Balefire because Michael Raymond James is our ambassador. So.
Yes, and
that's my favorite character of all time.
Well, it's funny when he popped up on the show. I was like, "Hey, it's the dude that was in The Walking Dead and got shot in the head right away." Because that's
he was also in True Blood. The first thing I just recognized him from right away was True Blood because I love that show.
I didn't really watch True Blood, but he was in one episode of Walking Dead. I was like, hey, I know that guy. But
oh yeah, well, Mikey's everywhere. But yeah, so I'm always biased to his character in Once Upon a Time because, like I said, I mean, he's great. I adore him and. He's an amazing ambassador of Bullies Keep Out. So yeah, I'm always partial to his character.
and he was a great part of Once Upon a Time, and he made.
He was. I was very sad when they killed him.
Yeah, and he made Rumple's Robert Carlyle character. He made him stronger. Like I said, for me, that's the show was about. A father trying to find his son and what lengths he would go to get him back. So for me, it was like he was the master plan to get the Dark Curse, out there, and he was orchestrating everything as far as from my point of view. But that's the point of the show. I think the show is for
everybody pulls something different.
Yeah,
everybody pulls something different from it. But I didn't go and curse anybody because they're like, oh, you killed off my Bullies Keep Out ambassador. I'm gonna just attack you all over Twitter. I mean, I didn't. Of course, I'm not gonna do that. But that's the point that I'm trying to make. We can't do those things.
Exactly.
You can be upset, and Lindsay, look what you pulled from it. You pulled something completely different than somebody else would have pulled from it. I guess I really was always touched and was very drawn in by the character of Regina.
Well, and that was another character I was attached to.
That's what it was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think everybody was really attached to Regina.
Well, I think the thing that both Rumple and Regina had in common as characters was they were both. And I love this type of character. I love the villain that's trying to find their way. That's trying to find their way to the good side.
Me too.
And that's. Mm-hmm. And my one friend, he's like, "Why are you defending Regina? She literally killed an entire village." I'm like, "I know, but that was the fairy tale land. That's not in America.
That's what she was, the evil queen. Yeah. She's trying to be better."
Yeah, I was making excuses, and it is when you think about it logically, she really isn't a bad person. But
no, it's so funny because I've heard her say that in interviews. She's like, "Oh, she literally killed and murdered all these people," but
yeah,
but it's still it's a show, so you can forgo that. Yeah. But it's it is everybody. But how it's a character you're supposed to hate.
Yeah.
But you loved her. You loved the character, even when she was evil. You loved her. You felt for her. You really, and that's a major part of the skills that the cast had and the portrayals that they gave. Robert Carlyle is just amazing in everything. So, I mean, I love his character, too. He's just mesmerizing to watch. And, and both of them, I loved when they had their ship together. They were a ship, and a lot of people didn't like it. And there was a little bit of back and forth with that, and I was like, I voiced my opinion on that. I was like, I happen to dig it. I kind of think that they're cute together and they work together,
And that's the one thing with me. For me, and I don't think I'm in a minority. I'm part of a fandom that I'm the oncer. I just like watching it for. The story. I really never had a hand in any relationship because I really didn't care. I would say the only time I was I cared about a relationship was when they did not let the Mulan and Aurora, I believe it was, relationship. They didn't do anything with that.
I was kind of looking forward to that too. I wanted to see. I thought that was going to go somewhere because you saw the chemistry.
Yeah.
And you saw it building, and then it kind of just went nowhere. And then I was like, okay, well, that like flopped. And I think I know a lot of people were a little bit upset with that. I had my characters that I liked together, like, that I was happy or I enjoyed seeing together, but that wasn't what the show was about for me. I always enjoyed the storyline.
Yeah.
Like, I always joke at the end of season 6, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, I said, look at the way Regina's looking at Rumple. There's going to be something there in season 7. I'm like, she's giving him, like, this little look. And I had a couple other people that noticed it, too. They were like, no, I see that. She's kind of giving him that look like she likes him. But I'm like, I know she's kind of, like, looking at him, like, flirty. And we were all joking about it because it was just funny, and I don't really think a lot of people. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but there was a group of us who just noticed it at the end, and we kept rewinding. We're like, "Yeah, see right there, right there. There's one look there, and then there's another look there. That's like a little. Maybe that's a little sneak peek into season 7." But we were just playing and goofing around because they were a couple when they were evil.
Yeah. I didn't notice the look, but I also, again, like the ability of me to like pay that close attention to things is really, it's just not there for two reasons. A, again, it's going to go back to the fact that like even me saying like I wasn't pulling for that Mulan Aurora relationship. The reason I'm upset that it didn't happen is I was like, well, that's like your opportunity to represent like an underrepresented group of people, and you kind of just let it go and you let it falter.
Well, I know that's what a lot of people are upset about, because especially the LGBT community, because most shows nowadays it's incorporated somehow, and lots of people would like to see it if it's lacking that, and I think people were looking forward to that, and then when they dropped the ball on that, I think they felt that they threw Dorothy, and it was Dorothy in Mulan, right?
No, it was Red Riding Hood.
Dorothy and, thank you, I'm sorry. They kind of threw them together, and I think people felt like, okay, well, we have to throw this in somewhere because we didn't follow through with that storyline, so let's throw it in here real quick. And it was like literally like a 2-second throw-in, and I just think that people felt that it was underrepresented, and I kind of agreed with it. I was like, it was kind of forced and thrown in there out of nowhere. Like, we were expecting to see Mulan and the other one, and like, how did we get over here?
Yeah, I remember that episode. I was like, when was Red Riding Hood a lesbian? Like, where did this come from? Like, it was.
Yeah, like you never really saw that coming until all of a sudden it was like.
It was like when they wanted her to be a lesbian
with Dorothy, and that was it.
And
they wanted to incorporate an LGBTQ storyline, and like I said, they were trying to appease fans. And when you try, and I think a lot of people feel, and I've heard many people say this: when a show starts trying to appease them too much, and then it looks forced, it loses like the essence of the story and the storyline. And I think so many people felt that was just kind of thrown in and forced. I think the majority of the people felt like that. I mean, I personally felt that the LGBTQ storyline was underdeveloped and underrated, and they could have done a little bit more with it, or just made it a little bit more smoother the way they incorporated it into the show, and it really wasn't. And I think that was a lot of things that we were all looking forward to seeing play out, even though people didn't want to see those two. They wanted to see other people play that out. But regardless, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about who you wanted to see. It was about the fact that they were trying to incorporate that into the show, and that was what was important, that they were trying to represent the community.
Yeah.
That was, underdeveloped and, underrated in the show, and whatever you want to call it, and the way it was done. But to me, what was important was how it was just, it really wasn't too much of a story. But then, then it became, again, about ships and they did it, but it wasn't who I wanted. Well, that really wasn't what it was about. The message was about to get that message out there. It wasn't about you wanted to see together, because we all knew that wasn't going to happen. So, that's when it just invited, again, fights and bullying and hate and just forget it.
It's just I think we can end it on, and I'll use this term. It's obviously very specific, but I mean it in a very general way. When you watch a show, just be a oncer. Like, when you watch Once Upon a Time, be there for why you started watching the show, because it's that there's nothing changes. Like that, it's and then
Just
everyone's
be
happy.
a fan.
Yeah, be a fan. Like,
Yeah, just be a fan.
Like,
Just be a fan. Be a oncer. You could be an Evil Regal. You could be a My Pretty. Every day the actors will have for their little group. They have their names, but that's not really related to the show. I mean, that the ship sort of the hashtags, but just be a fan. Be a oncer, an Evil Regal, a pretty, whatever you want to be, a Jasmanian. Whatever. But in the end of the day, everybody's still a oncer. You're all still a oncer, and that's what it's about. And it's just about being a fan and just respect, love, kindness. Just spread it, and that's pretty much it. That's what it should be about.
And don't make shows terrible, creators, because you're trying to appease a fan, like season 4 of Arrow.
Yeah, that like I said, I've heard so many people like that. We're all really into television and stuff, and we've all said the same thing. Like, don't try to appease one group or try to do something specifically, because like then it just we've said it so many times, it just feels too forced, and then people lose the enjoyment of it, and they're looking at it and they're like, they can kind of drop the ball there, and it's totally fine, but when you have people that are that passionate about television, they recognize those things, and it's like, you can't write television like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So before we let you go, go ahead and talk about Bullies Keep Out, where people can find you, what they can do to help, and all that good stuff.
We are all over social media. www.bullieskeepout.com. We are redoing and redesigning our site, but you can still navigate it. Everything is there. Sources, PSAs, interviews, our YouTube channel. Of course, we're on Twitter. We're on Facebook at Bullies Keep Out. Facebook, Bullies Keep Out, a verified Facebook page. We are always looking for people who want to, volunteer, be part of a team. They can contribute something. We have a wonderful team that we work with now. Share your story, speak out, PSAs, interviews, getting involved with any events that we do. We do so much, and we incorporate so much into Bullies Keep Out. We're also open for suggestions. There's so many things that people could do. I mean, they could guest write. We working on all sorts of certain things that, eventually maybe a little short film. We have events that we're planning. We have some really cool big things coming up. We just finished a great fundraiser. We have another, can't talk about it too much, but we have another little campaign coming up for us, for Bullies Keep Out, that someone's doing. Like I said, I can't say too much, but hopefully that'll be happening soon. And like I said, we're always looking for people to just speak out, get involved, retweets, mentions, spreading the word. We have merchandise on the site. I mean, there's so many ways to get involved, and we always tell, they can always email myself. I give them my personal Bullies Keep Out email. We have our PR person for press and media. I mean, we're just kind of all around. We're unorthodox. We're out of the box. We try to be unique, and that's how we try to stand out, and we're just growing bigger every day, and it's because of all the lovely and amazing support that we have, the people that we work with. I can't say enough about our ambassador, Michael Raymond James, who makes a lot of these wonderful things that we have going on happen. We're going to be doing some really cool collaborations as well that we can't say too much about, but, there's a lot of people out there that know who some of these people are, and they're going to be excited to see what, our next adventures are going to be, and raising awareness and just, public speaking, and just lots of awesome things coming up for the cause.
Very, very cool. I'm excited to see what happens there. Hopefully, spoilers, I'm going to try to bring Everything Is Awesome on board to do stuff, because why not spread myself even thinner with all these projects that
yes, we're going to get you involved.
But we'll see. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see just what Bullies Keep Out does in general, and obviously selfishly, I can't wait to get involved as well. Just another opportunity to talk is what I look at. I like if
Absolutely.
if it's not clear, I'm a big talker, both physically.
Well, I mean, I'm
and,
Italian from New York. I mean, obviously, I could talk. I mean, I could sit here for the next 2 hours and have conversations, but I don't think everybody will listen. They'll probably be like, "Hey, turn it off."
Yeah, it's the same thing as I've literally sat down. I've done episodes where I've had Batman on, and spoilers, Batman is played by me, so I'll sit in a car interviewing myself, going back and forth for an hour, and I've done that twice, and I'll probably we might have Batman on again for a special episode, but we'll see.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show and talking fandoms with us, and specifically talking, and I'll say the unpolitically correct way, telling people not to be idiots when it comes to bullying. I say that with love, though.
Yes, that's his words, not mine.
Yes. It's listen, if you're gonna I'm like Kevin Smith, so I say things pretty loose from the tongue. So I'm not FCC friendly, basically. And
I think we know you're not meaning it, harshly.
See, like it goes back to what you said. Like for me, when I'm talking to a group of people, if I'm like, don't be an idiot. Like that's not me being mean. That's me using it in like a casual, fun way. The same way I would tell my friends, stop being an idiot.
No, believe me, I've heard motivational speakers talk like that. So I mean, trust me, you're not the only one.
Good.
I've heard of very popular motivational speakers. Everybody has a brutally honest thing, and I think that's a very rare thing these days. I mean, I'm not saying to really call people idiots. I'm just saying, like, they'll use it as an example, like, oh, come on, we can't all be, dumb or idiots. And, they're not trying to use it to say that about specific people. They're just using it in a way that's how they speak and that's how they talk. And I think that's when, it's almost like when you watch a comedian joke, there are lines that they can cross. But at the end of the day, it's just joking, and people have to get a joke from being serious. But, there have been times where they have crossed the lines about serious things, and then that's when it's time to say, okay, well, now that's not right. But in general, when it's it's all fun and games, and it's, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, it's. And my audience knows that that basically they listen to me because they can't be friends with Kevin Smith, but they can be friends with me because I'll say yes. All right. Well, once again, thank you for being on the show. Make sure you check out the website bullieskeepout.com, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll edit that out so that it sounds
You got
good.
it right.
I'll make it sound good in post. So check that out. All over the social medias, and you can go to the website to see how you can help out simply with a couple hashtags and whatnot as well, or more if you want to choose to do so. But it's all about spreading the good word, as I believe I heard Dana say earlier. So for Everything is Awesome, I'm Kev. We'll be back next week to start the epic roller coaster of the Philadelphia Podcast Festival celebration. I am literally not going to sleep for the next month, so get ready for a lot of caffeinated Kev, I guess. For Everything is Awesome, I'm Kev. We've been awesome right here on awesomepodcast.com and, of course, coretemparts.com.
Thank you for listening to the Court Arts Podcast Network. To listen to more Court Arts shows, visit coretemparts.com.